Welcome to the 12th episode of the Pro Wrestling Zone. I am Tiger Height.
And I'm Peanut Gallery.
And we are covering All Elite Wrestling's full gear, and then we'll talk about the Saudi one after a break.
What's up?
So, the first match was Santana Ortiz versus the Young Bucks. It was a street sweeper.
This is a good match.
It was excellent. This was such an excellent match. I'm like, this is the curtain jerker? Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Pac and Hangman Page. It was a out of nowhere Deadeye. Another just, God, these two are good.
It was a good match. It was a good mid-card match.
It was a great mid-card match. Are you kidding me? It's like, why don't they have a secondary championship already?
Right.
It's like,
I think they're working on getting one of those.
Now, this next one, this was announced, I think, like last week on Dynamite. And it was like, it was the Shawn Spears-Joey Janela match.
See, this
Shawn
one,
Spears won, and I don't know, I was not 110% invested in this match.
No, there wasn't really much going into it. There wasn't really a big, I mean, I guess there might have been a big rivalry, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like a bathroom break match.
Right, this after two great matches, this match kind of was there.
It was just there.
And it sucks because both of these guys are really good. They just, something about this match just didn't click.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess you have to have one of these, and when you have a card as stacked as this was, you have to have a shitter match.
Right, exactly.
SCU, Private Party, and Lucha Brothers for the AEW World Tag Team Champions.
It was your typical spot fest, but it was
what it was supposed to be.
It wasn't. There was a better tag team match of the night. Let's put it that way.
SCU retained the championships. The Lucha Brothers, I think, have officially turned heel, which I'm very happy about. They attack SCU after the match, so I think they're going to continue on this rivalry with them. Then another Pentagon shows up and attacks them, and it was Christopher Daniels. So I'm glad that he's back. He was injured. I can't remember what the injury was. I don't think
it wasn't as severe, obviously, as they had thought it was.
Yes, which is good because for a guy of how old Christopher Daniels is and how long he's been in the business, his career's kind of getting to that point where
one major injury's at the end of it.
Right, and so I'm glad that it wasn't super bad.
Right.
Ryu and Emi Sakura for the AEW Women's World Championship.
It was an okay match. You know, the problem is with this AEW's women division that there isn't a lot of very well-known names going into this. Not like the men's divisions where you actually have a ton of names
but this is the kind of match that's going to build that division. I thought this match was excellent.
It was a good match, but the thing is I think that people are still trying to get used to the people involved, the characters.
Right. And, you know, it's a new promotion, so we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. There's growing pains. It happens.
Right.
What I really liked, and I think this is a point that we should bring up, was the countdown to the show, the pre-show. What they do is excellent.
Yeah.
We were more invested in this match because there was a story that was built
there was a
upon
great story behind it.
It's where you watch that to get a backstory. You watch the shows for the action.
Right.
And they do a lot of the story building on social media.
They don't do any of the backstage stupidity either.
No.
Not as much as they did in the past. But that's because, of course, they have a weekly television show now.
Right. It was a lot easier to kind of do that. And then they do a lot of their promotion and stuff on social media.
Right.
As a part of the rivalries themselves.
Right.
So, and then every promo feels important. The matches feel important. There's importance to all of this. But in this match really showcased it. It was like a random roll-up. Ryu was still champion. I think that was the right call. But Emi Sakura really showed what she's got, so maybe another rematch.
Yeah, and then Awesome Kong came out.
That was during
the pre-show.
Awesome Kong is back. She's collecting hair now, which is not weird at all, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you can see her going for the AEW Women's Champion at some point.
Easily. I was actually surprised Nyla Rose wasn't on this show. It was kind of weird.
Oh well.
But for the AEW World Championship, Cody versus Chris Jericho, where if Cody lost, or if he did not win the championship, he would not go for the title again.
Which I believe that. I don't believe that's going to happen.
No,
I think there will come a point in time where he wants to challenge for the belt again.
We didn't finish the show because we had family in town, and it was actually a really stressful day yesterday. So,
but that match was actually it was incredible.
It felt like a world title match. Cody looked good. There was a great story on it.
Yep, a lot of history. You can just feel the history in that match.
Right.
They had the judges there. I think it was Arn Anderson,
Dean Malenko, and Kenji Muda.
Okay,
it was a great Muda.
It was a great. They built
upon that. They built on the story with Malenko and Jericho. MJF and Hager were out there, so they got involved a little bit. There was a little bit of spat back
then
and
what
forth.
About MJF turning on Cody?
Yes. So how this match ended was, I think, a good thing too. Nobody was pinned. It was
MJF threw in the towel.
That was probably the most brutal lion tamer I've ever seen in my entire life. Chris Jericho was almost on his belly like an alligator, and Cody was bent over like an accordion. That was pretty brutal. But MJF threw in the towel and low blows him. People were throwing trash at MJF. Did you?
Man, there's gonna
especially at the end when he was standing and he was looking over. You just see this big thing of water just poof. I'm like, Jesus, did somebody soak him? No, somebody threw like a water bottle. It just exploded.
Yeah.
And then like there was like 4 or 5 security. Like I noticed like the people threw it, and he was soaked. And it was like, wow, he had heat. Now, can you stop playing around with my shit? Like, honestly, like you do this every fucking show.
I know.
Okay. So it was so good. They built so much good stuff. Cody has a rivalry now. Jericho's still champion.
Who's next?
God. I mean, honestly, if I put money on it for what this was, I think Hangman Page is going to go for the belt again.
You think so? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be Hangman Page or is it going to be Mox?
I don't know. Moxley is like a heel-ish.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a heel.
Now, this next match, because technically that was the main event. This next match was an unsanctioned match. They did the lights in and out. Whoever won and lost this did not go towards. It
was brutality. I think Renee Young said it all about if you read her tweets about the brutality. It was a pretty brutal match.
My experience watching wrestling. I've been watching wrestling for about 20ish years.
However, what I did
this was the most brutal match I have ever seen. It was a brutal, violent match,
but it didn't feel that way because there wasn't like gushing blood everywhere and stuff.
In fact, it looked like
it looked safe.
I mean, it wasn't.
It wasn't safe.
There was a point where there was a sharpshooter where fucking Moxley had to belly roll over glass.
Right. I understand. I understand it wasn't
the crisscross spiderweb barbed wire bullshit that they did a suplex off of the ramp onto the floor.
Yeah, but it looked like though the referee was really there to keep an eye to make sure that it didn't go too far off the D. Safe is a relative term. Let's put it that way. It's not like WWE safe, but you can tell that they were worried about the well-being of their wrestlers.
Right.
More so than even in previous shows. I feel like
absolutely. This felt important.
Yep.
It felt this was a blow-off rivalry match.
Yeah.
It felt like an unsanctioned match.
Yeah.
Where it's like you just do whatever you want.
It felt like it came to an end.
There was good emotion too from everybody involved. It was so much fun to watch.
Right. And the only way that they can even go forward with this rivalry is if the AEW World title is on the line.
Right. And unfortunately they weren't in a position to go for the championship at all.
Right. But that's okay. It was a good way to end this rivalry at this stage.
It was creative. Mm-hmm. The announcing was on point in this match.
Oh my gosh. I think that the announcing got a lot better too.
Yes.
You can tell that,
everyone gelled. JR and Excalibur bounce off of each other super well too.
Oh my gosh, it was such a good.
Throughout the entire one, but this is where I really heard it, and I was like, wow, this announcing team is incredible. Even on the pre-show, I'm like, this is not a bad little commentary team. This is the place to do your gelling, kind of figure it out. AEW has had growing pains, and this was like the first pay-per-view.
It felt like a pay-per-view.
Yes, and they built it right. They built it strong. People have been invested from beginning, middle, and end.
Yep.
The amount of viewership that they've been having has been constantly good. I'm excited to see where they go next.
Right. It's almost too bad. I mean, the roster feels small still, which is another growing pain.
No, it's small, but it's important.
Right. I feel like the roster is going to grow with time, though.
Oh, absolutely, and oh god, I mean, I can't say enough about this show. This was an incredible
good show.
This is what they have to do.
Yeah, and
they
you can see
keep the pay-per-views to a minimum.
Right, do 4, 5, 6 a year. That's it. You
don't have to do one once a month. You don't have to do that because then in this case, less is more.
Right,
and I think NWA Power is doing that as well. Where
let's talk about how there might be a partnership between NWA and AEW,
which would be a really good partnership.
Because you saw the NWA Tag Team Champions getting involved at the end of the
Midnight
first
Express.
match.
Also, Ricky Morton, I swear to God, that guy is not aged. He did a Canadian Destroyer and a Suicide Dive. He's almost 60.
Yeah.
And he's doing that. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
He did so freaking good. It's like these two have been wrestling for 3 decades.
Yeah.
And they have not lost a step.
Right. They might move slower than they did in their heyday, but they still can move.
They make all the moves count. They don't do unnecessary things.
Right.
And that's how you keep that career longevity.
Right.
Same thing with Jericho. Jericho is very good about preserving his body and changing his style. He is a king of innovation.
Right.
I mean, he made Le Champion. I swear to God, anything that comes out of that guy's mouth.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Right. It's like, holy shit. It was like an off-color whatever. It was like Rusev Day. And then it just sparked.
Yeah.
It's like king of reinvention here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to talk about wrestling, and we're going to go off because I really don't have anything else, I want to talk about this in particular because, one, we have some time. And two, the Lana promo from Raw. People have been saying that this Raw was one of the worst Raws ever.
Oh boy.
And the Lana promo was the catalyst. They said that this was worse than Bayley, This Is Your Life. They said that this was worse than so many things. And some of the transcripts are ridiculous. So apparently Lana's pregnant. She's not, but...
And we don't know who Daddy is.
No, Rusev is dead. And so now Lashley's pissed. And then Rusev is like, what the fuck is going on? The crowd... They had to mute the crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd took... The crowd just bent over and took an epic shit on the chest of this Raw. It was so bad.
Oh man! And if I don't know what there's no redeeming it. This rivalry.
It has to end.
It sucks.
This is ruining Rusev. This is ruining Lashley. This is ruining Lana. You need to do better. This is not going. You are losing 6 weeks in a row, and you're doing this. This will not help you.
No.
And from very strong Raw and from very strong SmackDown going into Survivor Series, they cannot afford shows like this, especially in the wrestling climate that this is. People have to be on their game almost constantly.
Right, and it's not that hard. Just write them good crap.
Right.
Anyway, so
New Japan is probably going to be starting a branch of their promotion here. AEW,
right.
NWA's really starting to pick up some big momentum.
Yeah.
Hell, Impact Wrestling is too.
I mean, Tessa Blanchard now is going for a major men's championship. So, anyways, what do you give this on a scale on a grade from A to F? What do you give this show?
I'm gonna give this an A-.
I was going to do the same thing.
I was going to say A- because of Spears and Janela.
Right.
And also, I thought maybe some of the matches were a little prolonged, but sometimes you have to have that.
Right.
So, thank you guys for watching this part. Go ahead and take your break, and we will go back into it with the full story of WWE in Saudi Arabia on what happened.
Yep, perfect. They're still there.
And we are back.
What is up?
So, after all of this talk, and since, we kind of segued into WWE, let's give an update on the situation with the Saudi Arabia. We're going to hold them there.
Right. So, in the previous episode, we talked about the history.
Like, literally the last episode.
Yeah, the last episode, we talked about the history of WWE's involvement in Saudi Arabia and why it is so controversial.
And then at the time, there were a lot of competitors that were still stuck in the country, and then there was speculation that
right.
So was holding them.
Yeah. So let's start with some of these speculations. Now, what were some of the rumors that came out that were most notable? I think for me, an interesting rumor was that Natalya and Lacey Evans match, doing all that PDA. Yep. Then there was another interesting.
One of them was that the Saudi government has not been paying WWE, and McMahon cut the feed for the show for the Saudi television early because they haven't been paying.
Or no, WWE had delayed it by 20 minutes, and then the Saudis cut the feed and said this is unacceptable.
Right.
So that's another. Any other crazy rumors that were going? I mean,
there were a few others, but I heard that it was like that the planes were actually. I heard something with terrorism too.
Yeah.
I
heard that one as well.
I actually heard that not the Taliban, but ISIS.
Yeah.
Were the ones who planted bombs on there to start the war and take out the wrestlers, and they had to get off the plane because they found bombs on it.
Right.
That was probably the craziest one that I heard.
Yeah. But
obviously nothing of the sort was true.
Right. So, why don't you go over for us then what happened in reality?
So, they were on the plane, and Atlas Air found that there was a mechanical problem. And this is the actual story. That they had to get off the plane.
Yep.
And it delayed them for about 6 hours,
yeah.
I believe is what they said. They weren't stuck there for like days. They were stuck there for 6 hours.
Right.
But because there was such a... Oh, I also did hear that WWE purposely left them there to kickstart the Survivor Series stuff.
Yeah.
And do that. I heard that one too. But that's an offset. They had to get off, and it was 6 hours, but since SmackDown was so close, and they weren't going to be in until much later.
Well, they came in at, like, what?
Like 9 o'clock in the evening, and they went to, I believe, what's New York's main airport?
Oh, they went to Newark, yeah. They landed there, because they were going to do a Raw show in Uniondale.
Right. So they were going to be there anyway, so they just decided to take everybody there.
Right.
And then they did SmackDown from the previous show. Was
They switched things around. But with regards to something like that, though, I mean, yes, there was a mechanical failure. Atlas Air acknowledged that there was a mechanical failure.
And they did that like way before, and yet people were still ignoring it.
And then people were like, well, why couldn't they get a plane immediately? You have to understand that Atlas Air does not have planes sitting around every airport in the world.
Right.
They had to get a plane from probably from Europe. They had to get a plane.
WWE could have chartered another flight.
They did charter another flight, but it wasn't going to get there immediately.
Right.
What, do you think they have like 8 planes just lying around? Atlas Air does not have a hub or any planes parked in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Right.
I think their closest hub airports are in Europe, like Frankfurt or something.
Yeah, well, that's where it came from. It came from Germany.
Right.
That's the scope of the situation.
And getting a plane.
It was a mechanical failure.
Yeah.
Atlas Air were very good about
getting a plane, but they had
making sure everybody was safe.
I mean, then you have to get a crew put together.
They acknowledged it.
Yeah.
They apologized. WWE came out with a statement saying, We cut the feed because there were issues with the broadcasting. There was no, there was none of this weird collusion shit.
Right.
Obviously, we're not insiders.
Right.
We can only
Well, that's
tell...
why we waited until this week to spill the beans on the story, because we didn't even know the full story.
Right, and our thing is, if there's a big news story, we don't want to cover it first. We want to cover it right.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we relay the information to what our interpretation was.
Right.
Armed with the right information or access to all of the information.
Right.
Lesnar left early because he had his own plane, and he just decided to leave.
And then Vince McMahon left, and it's like, well, the captain should go down with his ship. Well, no, Vince McMahon has his own private jet,
right?
And he left before there was any knowledge of any mechanical issues,
right? And
sometimes
he was there to the end of the show, too,
right?
Because this happened like 3 hours after the show finished.
Right.
So they had their own planes, and they were fine. But everybody else was just stuck. Now, not all of the planes were stuck. I think it was just like 1 or 2.
It was the big 747 that they always charter to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I thought it was only like a couple of them.
No, I think they charter one big one, and then a couple days later they'll have another plane leave with all the set equipment and stuff.
Right. And the set equipment was still there. There was a lot of people that
was literally the night of.
Right. That was the night. This was the night of the event. Right. Obviously, the reason... I'm not surprised that a lot of these wrestlers are like, we're never going back over there.
Yeah, let's talk about the repercussions from this event.
AJ Styles is not wanting to go back. Buddy Murphy has expressed that. Some wrestlers are outright saying they want to leave WWE as a whole because they don't want to be involved in shows like this.
Right.
Where they have no control. They're technically... independent contractors, and yet they have to make these commitments. It's like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And when you're an independent contractor, you kind of make your own schedule, but you just don't get the health insurance. It's the trade-off.
Right. So, I mean, I guess in looking at it, what do you think? I know that WWE has they increased their partnership with Saudi Arabia.
They extended it for like 10 years, and it's like, you guys, you're fucking stupid. Why?
Right.
This can't keep. The Saudi Arabia shows, there's going to be a point in time when the wrestlers are just going to say, fuck you.
Right, they're not going to want to go.
It's like, we're going to strike. Well, you're independent contractors. Well, then I quit. I'm not going to go. I will sit. I will do what Neville did and just
sit out the contract.
Right, and that's what he did. And they put it on Gridlock, and they were in this huge Gridlock war. And, it's like, there's going to be a point in time when there's just going to be a fucking revolution against the company because of this bullshit. And then the ratings are tanking. I mean, this Raw is really bad. I mean, what I've heard, this is not good.
Right. But yeah, so in I guess in looking at the whole situation, I think that this delay that they had, this mechanical failure that they had, I think it just exacerbated a lot of these wrestlers' frustrations about the company.
Right.
And that the expectations that WWE is having is a lot for these wrestlers to take. And then they see their colleagues in other promotions. They're
awesome,
right.
Doing what they want to do. They're actual true independent contractors.
They actually have control over their own merchandising.
Yep.
They're not beholden to the WWE machine. And they realize that there are other options out there. And I think that
WWE has to be very careful of what they do with these competitors and how much content they produce.
Right.
Because
the WWE's schedule is very, very strenuous.
It is. And yeah, they're seeing, AEW, New Japan, where they don't have to sign exclusive
and
deals.
They don't have to travel as much. I mean, AEW does one show a week.
Right.
And you have to fly, and they don't even use all the wrestlers every week, but you fly that one show a week. And
you do that one show, they'll fly you back home or whatever.
Right.
You can do MMA with Jake Hager doing MMA. You can pursue other things outside of WWE because you make that schedule.
Right.
You you still have an amazing platform, and that's a great thing about social media and the rise, again, of professional wrestling.
Right.
Is that this is the best way to sum this up. In WWE, they are in control of your destiny.
Right.
Everywhere else, you are.
Right.
You have to put in more work to promote yourself.
Right.
But
and you
have more freedom. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
You are the person to make this call.
Right. And see, people still do join WWE because they do have the biggest television contracts. They have the most exposure. They have the most money.
They grew up watching WWE. And they're like, I want to be a WWE wrestler.
Right.
I mean, they just signed Scarlett Bordeaux to a contract.
Right.
Now, what she's going to do, I don't know.
But I think the point is that shows like this, these international shows,
you have to be very careful
yes.
on how you do this. If you're going to go to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, tape the other shows there too.
Right. Don't fly back to SmackDown halfway across the world.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid.
I mean, with England, what they do is they do the entire tour.
Yeah.
They're there for a couple of weeks. You're gonna see...
and what they did was then they flew back to Europe a week after they got back to the U.S. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Flying is very strenuous, very difficult, and it's very stressful.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're moving in less than a week, so we're not going to have a show next week.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, we're not.
If we have time.
No, we're not going to have a show. So next week there is no show, but I think that we'll come up with some great topics.
I brought that up because think about doing that, but going across the world multiple times in less than a week.
Yeah.
That is very challenging on a body, on a mindset. It's like you can't breathe.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder they're leaving. And, they're seeing their former colleagues like Shawn Spears, Cody, Chris Jericho
having the time of their lives.
Having this immense success, doing their own thing, being the talk of the fucking wrestling world for the right reasons.
Right. And see, that's something that, Seth Rollins isn't much of a talk anymore, but he was in the talk for all the wrong reasons.
Right. There's a thing where any publicity is good publicity. But Rollins, he screwed himself in a way because he's attacking people from other companies. He's attacking fans, which I don't think is right. And he's supposed to be a babyface.
Right.
Sami Callihan got away with it in Impact because he was meant to be a heel.
Right.
And now he is like one of the most popular wrestlers in all of wrestling.
Yeah.
And he's on Impact.
Yeah, right. And Impact doesn't even have a rough schedule.
Tessa Blanchard is, other than... Seriously, cut that out. Other than Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, in the world of women's professional wrestling, who are still active, Tessa Blanchard is the queen of indies women's wrestling.
Yeah. Pretty much, but I think the point is that WWE is not the be all end all that it used to be,
and WWE has to shape up. And to what I've heard, they're not, and this is going to be a bad situation because if Fox pulls out, that's going to be bad.
Well, yeah, and the thing is you look at the ratings. I mean, ratings aren't everything, but then look at live show attendance, look at merchandise sales.
Right, look at the show attendance in these regular things.
Yeah,
it's like, AEW had one really lousy show, but the rest of the time they sold out.
But they were that lousy show, I think, was in West Virginia, wasn't it? It was a West Virginia show. No one has any money in West Virginia.
Right. I mean, honestly, they don't. I'm sorry, West Virginians, but you don't.
You just don't have money to go out and do a wrestling thing.
And it's like they're in Philadelphia, they're in New York. Obviously, those are bigger areas, and they can sell out the shows there.
Right.
But that's smart.
Yeah.
You want these places to sell out, so why not go to the place with the most people? Well, I don't want to. That's you. they have to think about themselves as a business.
Right.
They're not going to go to Colorado. I mean, they might go to Colorado Springs for a show, but they're probably going to do shows in Denver.
And even then, they only do it once a year in WWE's case. Because guess what? There are a lot of places that are not wrestling towns.
There has not been a really big wrestling boom here since the AWA back in the 60s, 70s.
Right. Anyway, I think we're kind of getting off kilter a little bit.
I mean, in a way we are, but also we're not.
Right.
WWE is basically shitting out of both sides of their mouth.
Right.
Where they're pissing off the wrestlers with this strenuous schedule.
And then they're pissing off the fans because the wrestlers
strenuous
schedules.
And now people have other options.
Right.
The advent of the internet makes it so easy to find all this information about the frustration, the distrust, all of this.
And when
I go into a store, if the employee is pissed, I don't want to be there. I don't want to give that place money. And with WWE, it's kind of the same thing. When I hear a wrestler unhappy, I don't like WWE for making that wrestler happy because they're the most powerful fucking company.
Because guess what?
In the world.
Guess what's going to happen the next Saudi show? Well, more wrestlers are going to say, "I don't want to go to the show."
Right.
And then what's going to happen too is then WWE is going to try and promote the hell out of it. No one's going to watch it, and then they just waste. Well, they didn't waste any money. They still made a lot of blood money, but still, it shouldn't be about the money. Wrestling is not meant to be a business where you make a ton of money. Quite honestly, you can make a lot of money, but you have to be good. And WWE is not good. They're complacent.
They are the standard bearer for outside people to watch wrestling.
Right.
And unfortunately, the jewel is scratched. It's dirty, and at least these other jewels are coming up now.
Right.
To where WWE just needs to pick it up.
But to the casual viewer, wrestling is
WWE.
Right.
To the casual and people who do not watch wrestling, wrestling is WWE.
Right.
That should be the place with the best possible product for everyone.
And it's not like they don't have the talent for it. They have most of the big stars. They have at least half the talent pool.
The strongest roster I've ever seen.
You can produce 5-star matches every week if you want to.
Right.
But WWE is complacent. They're on top, and they think they can revel in their glory. And now they're starting to see that if you make these wrestlers, if they're unhappy, they're going to go elsewhere and bring all of their fans with them.
Right. The chickens are coming home to roost, and this is a problem. WWE they need to shape up, because then people aren't going to look at WWE as a standard bearer, and then they'll get pissed. They'll look at AEW. They'll look at New Japan.
Huh?
New Japan is expanding here.
Right.
That's another thing of competition where they're going to be doing shows here.
Right.
This is not good for them, and it's saddening. It's angering.
Right.
But it's still very compelling. I mean, we watch the Crown Jewel show because we get paid to do this. But honestly, if I had the option to watch the Crown Jewel, I mean, it was a good show.
It was a good show. It was their strongest show there, but
it's a principle thing.
Right. There's too much bullshit, and at some point in time, they're starting to realize that maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Right. I have really nothing else to say. I think we have a good show. I'm fucking starving, so thank you guys for watching.
Yes.
The support has been awesome, especially this last show. It's getting up there as being one of our most watched shows. And become a patron, because if we get enough patrons, we'll do watch parties.
Yep.
And you guys can watch the show with us and our instant reactions like we used to do.
Yeah.
Which would be a lot of fun. There's a lot of other cool things. And we're gonna get the store set up. The moving thing is taking priority.
Yep. So. Anyway, so we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Yes, we'll talk to you guys in a couple of weeks. And as always, be majestic.